Hey everybody, I'm producing a very brief microlecture here for Chapter 7, which covers a broad topic of operations management and quality. Topics, I should say. There's a lot going on here. Now, I can also tell you, when you think about all the things going on in business today, operations management, logistics, all those types of things are going through some really big dynamic changes. It's really incredible, all the things that are going on. The future in it is really incredible. So if it's something that's interesting to you, I would fully encourage you to take a look at taking more classes in it and think about how you might apply that to a career. So the learning objectives we have for it are we want to be able to explain the meaning of operations and discuss the growth in the services and goods sectors of the U.S. economy, which was largely dominated by manufacturing. But that shift has been going on for decades now, and it shows up in how we go about defining what operations management is. Identify the three kinds of utility created by operations and the characteristics that distinguish service operations from goods production. Explain how companies with different business strategies are best served by having different operations capabilities. Very true, if you think about it. Amazon is as big as they are because of operations and logistics. They can get products to people, a wide array of products to people, quicker than the competition can, and that's why they've grown so much. You want to be able to identify the major factors that are considered in operations planning, discuss the information contained in 4 kinds of operation schedules, and discuss the 2 key activities required for operations control. And then we're going to identify the activities and underlying objectives involved in total quality management, and we're going to explain how supply chain strategy differs from traditional strategies for coordinating operations among firms. Again, it's a rapidly changing in a dynamic world, the world of operations and logistics. So I'm going to go to this. You probably read this in the chapter, or you will. But how operation strategies can be so important to the overall strategy of organizations. And these are 4 examples. I'm going to concentrate on Toyota. We're going to talk about cars here a little bit in the rest of the lecture, so just to give us some idea. Was a real pioneer in some of the things to improve quality and while using less resources, which is a pretty amazing thing to say, but they were actually put in some big management changes that made a big difference in how successful they were at producing a quality product and with less expense. So what the company does to implement its strategy is they want cars that perform reliably, have an appealing fit and finish, and consistently meet or exceed customer expectations at a competitive price. You can see how that fits into the overall strategy of the organization. But the way they make that happen is they have high quality standards for material suppliers, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Just-in-time materials flow for lean manufacturing. It's an amazing thing that's happened there. It truly is, and it's one of those areas of operations that are going through huge changes. Specialized automatic equipment for consistent product buildup, and operations personnel are experts on continuous improvement of product work methods, and it's very important to them. And they're not the only organization that says that, but they're one that does it. Okay, so I'm going to skip forward a little bit, and we're going to talk about areas that have really undergone through a lot of changes. So materials management activities for physical goods. We're going to talk about transportation activities that are used in transporting resources to the producer and finished goods to the customers. This really gone through huge changes. Okay, just think about, and again, I'm going to use Amazon as an example. When you place an order from Amazon, you might get it that day. For a lot of people, they get it from Amazon faster than they can go to the store and get it. Just in terms of planning out their day and say, okay, I'll get to the store sooner or later today. But they order it and Amazon has it on their front porch before they know it. Warehousing is a really important thing. Is how much we warehouse. We don't. If you think about the finances of this, you want to have as little money tied up in inventory that isn't finished goods as possible. You want to have as little as possible. That means you have less money invested in what is not yet ready for sale. So inventory control is a really, really important part of it, and it's also undergone a lot of changes. Okay, so two things that we see have come about, and this is probably over the last couple of decades, are lean production systems, which are designed for real smooth production that flows, that avoids inefficiencies, eliminate unnecessary inventories, again, financially affecting the firm, and continuously improve production processes. And it's amazing how much it's amazing how far advanced we've become in that. So when I think about the production of cars, for example, Henry Ford was given a lot of credit for creating the assembly line, and that was seen to be very, very efficient. It's been improved on quite a bit since then, and it's amazing how efficiently cars are actually produced today, using the car example. Now, just-in-time production is the idea that we're going to only produce what we need when we need it, and that creates a real issue with, obviously, with planning and making sure that your operations are capable of being that being that flexible. But it's the state of affairs today, and it's amazing how quickly they get that. Now, I'm going to use Walmart as an example here. Walmart requires their suppliers, let's say, I don't know, let's say all detergent. I'll use that as an example. They require them to replenish the shelves of the stores at Walmart within 24 hours. Now, all of a sudden, that puts the people at, I think it's Procter & Gamble, puts them in a position where they have to become really, really efficient at production and at logistics to get it there. And I can use, by way of an example, I'm going to show you something here. This is a huge automotive manufacturing facility out in Belvedere, Illinois, which is on the way to Rockford from the Chicago area. And before you get to Rockford, you drive by this plant on the expressway. And it's a huge facility, as you can see. I mean, a lot of manufacturing plants typically are. But what was interesting was, at one time, these huge lots, they look like almost like car lots, had pre-finished assemblies that went into the cars out there, and as the manufacturing plant needed the assembly, they would go out to, they'd get from, this is basically their outdoor warehouse, if you will, of all these different things. So, what's interesting about that is these lots that had all that inventory are basically empty now, just because of just-in-time inventory. Starting with Toyota. Toyota was the first one to do it, and now all car manufacturers do it, is they put a requirement on the manufacturers of the sub-assemblies to only give them what they need when they need it. That's a huge change to Chrysler, and a huge requirement put on their suppliers that they had to match. The last topic I want to talk about is, because we've heard about this a lot since, particularly around COVID, since COVID, the supply chain. And the supply chain is just a way of saying how a product gets from its various states of production to the consumer. And you can outline that entire chain and say, and it really depends quite a bit by the types of products that we're talking about. What I got a kick out of was when people talked about having shortages or didn't have products, either during COVID or even after COVID, ramping back up to meet the demand. That you run into situations all the time where the place was out of the product. You simply couldn't get it. And you're saying, and you'd ask and say, oh, it's the supply chain. There isn't a supply chain. There's a supply chain per each product, so it really depends quite a bit on with what you're looking at. So the universal excuse of it's the supply chain just really didn't make any sense. And I always chuckled when people would say that to me, when I'd say, how come you guys are out of this, And, but the supply chain is, the reason I'm bringing it up is that, it's undergone a lot of pressure to become much more efficient based on the things we just talked about, just-in-time inventory, those types of lean production, all those things. And so it's not hard to break it, and so I use my last example here is I think we can all recall during COVID, you couldn't get toilet paper, of all things. It was always empty on the shelves, and people would say, well, why don't they just produce more? because they were so efficient at producing it, they simply didn't have the capacity to make more. And the demand for it ultimately wasn't that different. It was, but how people were buying it was. So they were hoarding it. They were buying way more than they normally buy at a time. So supply chains are a model of efficiency in so many ways, but they also are vulnerable to changes in raw material availability and production capacities. So this is a real brief overview. This chapter hits on a whole lot of points in it. There's a lot of as it revolves around operations management and quality and some of the changes that are taking place. I think it's a fascinating area. So if you're interested in learning more about it, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And very best of luck with reading the chapter. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.